Sorry, Missy, I was muted. I'm sorry, Missy and Dan, I was
Missy
muted.
Okay.
Hey, Pam, Chris.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
Good to see you too, sweetie.
Your hair looks cute.
The wedding is starting.
Please make sure you are muted so we can enjoy the wedding.
You start?
Well, Sage and Tiana, we're happy to be together and to celebrate this occasion with you. We've looked forward to the day for many months, and we know that you are both so happy to be together for this important day. We can see it on your face. You know, the way that we all feel when we celebrate a wedding between two Christians who truly love one another is not surprising. when we step back and remember how this arrangement originally began. We remember that our Creator, Jehovah, He designed and brought into existence our earth and life and everything on it. And at the end of each creative day, He looked at His work and He saw that it was good. Oh, when the earth was prepared and it became Jehovah's time, He created man. And that creation was different, since in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, He said likely to His Son, "Let us make man in our image." So there was now a physical creation that could think and feel like our Creator does. Well, with his ability to think and reason, Adam was given the assignment to care for his new home. And in verse 28 of Genesis 1, he was commanded to fill the earth so that the entire planet could be lovingly subdued. Well, while Adam was created perfect in all respects by Jehovah, he wasn't complete. And he couldn't fulfill the purpose that was given to him alone. When we turn to Genesis chapter 2, it's telling what Jehovah said in verse 18. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 18. We read, "Then Jehovah God said, 'It is not good for the man to continue to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as a complement of him.'" So Jehovah did not simply highlight the inability that Adam had to fill the earth alone. He noted that this perfect man would need a helper, a complement for him to be complete. In fact, you notice in the verse, he pointed out that it was not good for the man to be alone, and Jehovah would never create something that was not good. And so we see Jehovah's next act of creation if you look at verse 21. Genesis 2:21 says, "So Jehovah God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of his ribs and then closed up the flesh over its place. And Jehovah God built the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman." I'll stop there. Well, it's interesting. Rather than starting from the dust of the ground, as he did with Adam, Jehovah saw the value of making it clear how close this new creation would be to Adam. They were not going to just be simply two creative works brought together for a purpose. There was an immediate relationship, a bond that was inherent in the way that Jehovah created this woman. And then Jehovah chose to do something else. If we finish verse 22, it says, "And he brought her to the man." Now, think about it. If the woman was in the Garden of Eden, don't you think Adam would have eventually found her? But that wasn't Jehovah's way. He knew the importance of what he was doing. By bringing Adam this perfect creation, he was instituting something different than any of his other creatures. He was creating an arrangement that would fulfill his purpose, but would also fulfill the needs of both the man and the woman. It wasn't just a physical help to each other, but it would be to fulfill the need for joy and love and companionship. And those were needs that Jehovah knew that we needed because humans were created in his image. Well, Adam was obviously overjoyed as Jehovah brought his new wife to him. Based off of the reaction in verse 23, it says, "Then the man said, 'This is at last bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman because from man she was taken.'" In the beginning of that the way he said it, that emotional statement, "at last," it was clear Adam wasn't just happy because now he could fulfill the purpose that Jehovah had given to him to fill this earth with humans. He considered what he was being given as a personal gift to finally complete him as a person. And so the account of the first marriage concludes in verse 24. "That is why a man will leave his father and his mother, and he will stick to his wife, and they will become one flesh." Yes, this perfect arrangement was so valuable for both the man and the woman that it would be a permanent relationship. And even though they were two separate creations, both with the ability to think and reason, the two would figuratively work so closely together as a team that it would be proper to describe them as one flesh. And this gift from Jehovah would cause both of them to feel the emotions that are important to Jehovah. He's a happy God, and he's a God of love. So both qualities would clearly be a part of an honorable marriage. And that brings us back to why we're together today. While everyone is so happy that the two of you have chosen each other and want to enter into this sacred union together, we also want to see that the years you have ahead of you will be as happy, as full of love as it is today. Well, the primary key to making sure that the relationship between you two is how it was originally intended is for both of you to keep in mind the direction of the one who created this arrangement. Both of you must be determined to keep Jehovah first in your lives. You think about it, but before you met one another, you both approached Jehovah privately in prayer and made a dedication vow to him. That dedication vow brought you close to Jehovah. You created a relationship with him. But in the end, it was that dedication vow that you individually made that was one of the things that attracted you to each other. In preparing for this wedding talk, I individually interviewed each of you, and I asked you a few questions about how you view marriage, how you view each other. Well, when you're talking about marriage, Sage, I want to tell you, when I asked Tiana about what good qualities she saw in you, she talked about your honesty and your desire to let Jehovah continue to help and mold you. She clearly sees you as a spiritual man. And Tiana, Sage talks about how much he respects how you stay focused on your ministry and your spiritual goals. He says that you don't just go through the motions of your study and your prayer, but you really put your heart into it. Well, with that as a foundation, now you learn more about each other to the point that you chose to enter into wedlock today. You know, for me, that's a funny word, wedlock. Before I was preparing a wedding talk, I had never really thought about the word before. If you had asked me, I would have probably told you I assumed it had something to do with choosing to lock yourself into a marriage, but that's actually not it at all. If you look it up in a dictionary, it has nothing to do with a physical lock. It actually comes from two Old English words. Wed means to pledge or vow in Old English, and lock, L-A-C, lock, it indicates an activity of entering into something. So the word wedlock actually reminds us that you're entering into a vow or a pledge to each other and to the sacred arrangement of marriage. So think about it. For some time now, you've spent time with each other, getting to know each other's good qualities, but that didn't mean that the fact that you were spending time together meant that you forgot your individual dedication vows to Jehovah. So when you make your vows to each other today to enter into the marriage bond, it in no way diminishes or replaces your vow to your Creator. Instead, you create a second bond to each other in addition to your individual bonds that you have with Jehovah. So that creates a mutual relationship that the book of Ecclesiastes calls a threefold cord. Because both of you love Jehovah, and as you draw closer together as a couple,